Hi, everybody. Welcome to the weekly WP Roundup with BJ. I'm BJ, and for some reason, the last stream I tried did not go through. It disauthenticated or unauthenticated the moment that I went live. So hopefully everything is going now. So if you're new to the stream, what we do every Friday afternoon is get together and we talk about the best news and tutorials and resources that have really been published this week about WordPress. So we really want to have a good discussion. We want to have good comments. We stream to both YouTube and Facebook at the same time. So whichever platform you're on, please feel free to throw any kind of comments in the comment section and or questions or anything like that, and either I will answer them and try to get back to you, or have somebody in the comments. We have a fantastic knowledge base in our comments, so we'll be able to hopefully get some stuff answered for you. Again, for those of you who were watching just a moment ago, I do apologize for the stream cutout. I wish I knew what had caused that. All of a sudden, it just dropped on my end. So to get started this week, I want to remind you that we always take blog submissions on the Elegant Themes blog. It's the first link in the description of this video. So if you have an idea that you want to share with the WordPress community and the Elegant Themes community, please throw it at us, and we will hopefully be able to work something out. We want to show what you have going on, and we want to pay you for it. So so it's a win-win. Now into the news. Well, before I get into the news, I want to see some of the comments before I do get distracted by the comments back and forth. So hopefully it won't be too distracting. I see some people saying they can hear me now. Good. I'm glad, Charles. That's the best part of your week. That just warms my heart. That's awesome. And hi to Cyprus and everywhere else. So that's awesome. So I want to talk very first of all is that WordPress 5.0 is here, y'all. It's here today. Boo! It's as close as we can get to Halloween, so I had to do something to scare you. While WordPress 5.0 does release on November 19th, we have WordPress 5.0. The beta is out now. You can install the beta for WordPress 5.0 and try out all of the stuff that it's coming with, and submit any kind of bug reports and go like that. So it is not at all released yet, but it is here. Like, it is here, and we can see what the final product is probably going to be really close to. Remember, this is the release that has Gutenberg in it, so if you're not ready for your clients or your sites to have Gutenberg just yet, remember to install the Classic Editor plugin, because you only have 3 weeks-ish until that comes out, and it will be the default editor. If you have auto updates on WordPress, be very aware of that coming out. It shouldn't really mess with anything on your current sites as they stand, as long as the plugin authors and everything have really updated. Most of us have. So hopefully you will be able to. Hopefully you'll be able to go through that process with no worries. But if you are worried about it, check out the beta that was released this week. Charles, Gutenberg is actually the new, I see in the YouTube comments, sorry, Charles Hutchinson asked what the Gutenberg was. It is the new default editor for WordPress. In WordPress 5.0, we are getting a block-based editor, which is actually very similar to the Divi Builder, where it's a drag-and-drop, module-based. They're calling them blocks, where all of your content, images, videos, HTML, anything at all that you would be able to put in a page or a post is going to be done through this, as opposed to the TinyMCE editor. Oh, and I see that he was kidding. So somebody out there doesn't know. So but that's what it is. It's going to replace the default editor, and unless you put in the classic plugin. I see on Facebook, Martin says, hi, and that the highlight of his week was Nick on Divi Chat. So I absolutely agree. When I saw that happen, I haven't been able to watch the whole episode yet, but it's in my news, so we might as well talk about it. Our fearless leader was on Divi Chat this week. It's Divi.chat. It's a podcast and a YouTube channel that a lot of the Divi Nation puts together, and it's a group chat where everybody talks about the way WordPress goes. And over the past few weeks, members of the Elegant Theme staff have been on there. Jason Champagne was on there, and our content manager, Nathan B. Weller, was on there. And this week, Nick Roach was on there, or like I said, our fearless leader, the founder of Elegant Themes. So Martin on Facebook said it was the highlight of his week, and I can excuse me, I can totally see that it was a talk about the history of the company, just good stuff in the future where we're going. Check that out. It is the last link in the current news section. So if you look on there, it's the fourth one under news right now. So check that out. It's really cool. I really like Divi Chat. I love those kind of community roundtables anyway, and because they get the community involved and touch base. They're good folks. And if you go to any of the WordCamps around the U.S., a lot of those folks attend as well. So we got to meet up at WordCamp US. Maybe I'll get to meet some of you guys at WordCamp US in Nashville this year. That would be awesome. I see Charles did ask, am I promising that nothing will break? I'm going to promise that we are doing our best that nothing will break. I can't promise that nothing will because there are too many variables, but we're doing everything we can not to have anything break with the Gutenberg release. Best efforts. So here's hoping. I also wanted to give just a quick shout out under the news that, speaking of the Divi Nation, Tim Striffler and the folks over at Divi Life have put out a new all access pass, and they have a new 12 new products that they've come out with, and a lot of you guys I know are going to use the Divi Bar. If you've ever seen that one, the Divi Bar plugin. Now there is a really awesome one that I want to play with myself called Divi Mega, where you can do mega menus and Divi headers using it. It is very pretty, and I wanted to include that one on there with as much as many comments as we get talking about the headers and footers and everything like that. I wanted to point out because this was launched just this week, and I wanted to let you guys know about that just ASAP to see if you could do that and support the other Divi Nation members, because we thrive on the community here and want to showcase as many of your products as we can, because like I said earlier, y'all do good stuff and we want to show it off. So, and then the very last thing under news, like there wasn't any big news this week other than the boot of WordPress 5.0, but it's just a release candidate beta, so we're not, we still have weeks for it. But this week, Yoast released Yoast 9.0. And y'all always know how much I love Yoast. I love Yoast. I really do. And with 9.0 under the premium stuff, they now let their keyword tool finally do what Google does and accept any order of the keywords and key phrases. So the example they use is like yellow chair. If you're writing a blog post to work on the keyword yellow chair, so that's what you're going to rank for, they will finally, in the Yoast SEO, to get your green lights to make sure that Google and everything else is going to get it without really fear of keyword stuffing, you can have like a chair that is yellow, or when I was working on this yellow upholstery on the chair, those kinds of things will finally show up in the Yoast recommendations and count toward your SEO green light and red light and all of that. So you can, if that's something that's really important to you in your workflow, save you a few awkward phrases, save you a little bit of time in knowing exactly what Google is going to see and help you rank for. I'm very excited about this one. I cannot wait to use it on my own, and it's going to just, like I said, it's a game changer. I really, really, really love this one because it's going to help so much. I see in the comments on YouTube here that that we have Augustine from Venezuela. Awesome. Hello to Venezuela. I've only had one student from Venezuela, but he talked very highly of it. He was from Caracas, and Abigail, I see. Am I going to be at the Nashville WordCamp? I absolutely am. It is only about 2.5 hours from me, so I don't see any reason, if the waters don't rise, as my grandma used to say, that I'll be there. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I really like the Nashville WordPress community. It's fantastic. And then I see Uncle Social said that I did put the headers and footers back a week by mentioning it, but I had to because Divi Mega is pretty cool. So I wanted to make sure that y'all knew about it. We have a running joke for those of you who aren't regulars that anytime anyone mentions the headers or footer customization that everybody wants that's coming in the theme builder, the dev team just pushes it back a week every time it gets mentioned just to spite us. So that's what that's all about. So the tutorials this week, we actually have some really, 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 really good ones. I really love the tutorials this week that I'm really impressed. The first one under tutorials, Jason, our staff member who does so much of our Divi stuff. We've talked about Jason a lot. He's fantastic. Does great work. He put out the ultimate guide, the definitive guide to installing WordPress. And I wanted to make sure that this one topped out our tutorials this week because really, honestly, we need to know what's going on when we install WordPress, that whether you're a developer or a designer, you're going to have to do it at some point, and it may have changed since the last time you did it. If you've only ever installed it manually, check out and see some of the stuff that happens with the quick installers now. If you don't know your way around a cPanel, Jason will walk you through it a little bit to be able to make sure that you know where things are. It's just a really, really good guide. It goes through in-depth everything, and it put a lot of love into this one. I gotta say. So I wanted to push that one to you guys because it's really, really, really well done. So the second one under here it makes me really happy to have seen this one. So I put it under the tutorials, and it's how to turn your WordPress blog into a book. This one, a lot of people think that it's very easy to do that. I've heard people say in the past that they want to start a blog and then take all of their posts and just put it into a book. And while that is entirely possible, I am from the bottom of my heart begging you guys not to do that because it's kind of a terrible idea. This is something that I've wanted to do for years. I got into the self-publishing industry probably 6-ish years ago with some novels that I wrote. And so during that time, that was about 5 years after I'd started blogging. So of course I had this idea that I wanted to turn these posts into a book eventually. That was just where my mind was. And so I ended up thinking a lot about it, and this article hits on pretty much everything that I learned and came across, and really goes a little bit further than a lot of other articles like this. Excuse me one second. And I mean, you're not just copying and pasting your blog. I mean, that's the first myth that needs to be dispelled, is that you don't just copy and paste blog posts as chapters. The thing is, to have a book that's a success is the same thing that a website is. Book success is 80% luck and about 20% marketing. You have to know your niche. Yes, and I said niche for all of you British folks, just so that Uncle Social gets upset. And I know that you have to know basically what to call it. You have to have a good title. You have to be able to market this. It's I spent one summer writing I lost a lot of weight, so I was writing a fitness blog, and I took those and tried to turn that into a manuscript. And the more research I did on this kind of weight loss memoir and things like that, I realized that there's a lot that goes into doing this, and TorqueMag in this article breaks it down. They talk about having a large enough following to actually reach out to traditional publishers and go that way. And if you go that way, you're going to you're going to have to give them proposals and all of this, and you have to have a very specific marketing plan and a very specific idea of what this book is going to accomplish. If you have just a general blog, they won't do it. It has to be a very, very narrowed down focus. The same thing happens with small presses and self-publishing. It may be even harder and more important to take your idea and take your blog and then refine it into its most valuable points and most salient points, and then you can compete in the Amazon and other ebook spaces where it's category based. Your success on Amazon with stuff like this is based on categories and where you can get visibility. So you have to know if your blog is there. Format it all. It has to look like a book, not a blog. You need to add new content to it so that people actually want to buy it instead of just going to your website and reading it. One of my favorite books in the world is The Wonderful and Terrible Reasons Why I Run Long Distances by Brian Inman. It's by The Oatmeal, and one of the selling points of that, it's one of my absolute favorite web comics. That particular one, the Wonderful and Terrible Reasons Why I Run Long Distances, but when he put it into book form, he added to it. So that was something where I just had to buy this, and those new editions actually hit kind of a nerve with me and made me cry. So good job, Oatmeal. But that's the kind of thing you need to actually add content. So if you write content and you're looking at making them, and you're looking at making it into a book, and you're looking at making them into a cohesive whole, as opposed to kind of an episodic blog that you've been posting, you need to find that through line that connects it all together, how you're going to publish it, and then what you're going to add to it to kind of give that added value to make people invest in it. So I really like that article. I see on YouTube that Michael says sweet Divi logo background. Thank you. I logged on to Slack one day and saw that Kenny, our lead designer, had uploaded that to our general channel, and I stole it. I straight up stole it and put it on my desktop. So it's very pretty. I'm not sure if that one's going to be available for download or what, or if he was just playing around, but I liked it, so I took it while I had the opportunity. I see that Uncle Social said that he uses Soft Delicious via WordPress to install WordPress. Used the Mojo Marketplace installer and thought that it was awful. It kept pushing premium extras very hard. Yeah, Mojo Marketplace does push premium extras. I use Soft Delicious right now because that's what is there. I think it's Installatron that's one of them. I think GoDaddy is using Installatron now. And there was another one that I always use that's name is escaping me that I replaced using with Soft Delicious, that it actually works a lot better. So that I see Quiche. Quiche, yes, it's Quiche. It's not a quitch. I will give you that. I moved to Joomla. Good luck, have fun. He threatened to move to Joomla because of the way I pronounce things. And if people left WordPress because of the way I pronounce things, oh my God, y'all, do y'all hear this accent? Or really, y'all hear this accent? Moving that, I see the next one on my list is how to quit your job gracefully. You guys, quitting your job is an art. I joked the other day, there's an article that I wrote with a little tongue-in-cheek thing that we're still editing and working on. And one of my things was take a pay cut and quit your job. That was a way that was something that you could do as self-care. And if you do that, if you ever do that, do it well. Do it where you don't burn any bridges. And that's what Randy wrote in this article about how to quit your job gracefully. He really knocks this one out of the park. And I know I say that a lot, but we have good people doing good stuff, y'all. When he wrote this, it, talks about stuff that you may not think about, because a lot of times when you quit your job, you are so focused either on a negative experience that happened at this job or a positive experience that's going to happen to you in your next job. So you may have mentally checked out of where you currently are. And so he goes through and tells you, like, make sure you tell your boss. Letting them find out through someone else that you're leaving is a sure way to make sure that recommendations are not going to be very favorable in the future. Talking about quitting in person and not sending an email. Please don't quit your job over a text. Please don't, please don't do that. That may be worse than breaking up with someone over text. But just please don't quit over text. That kind of thing. Giving notice, unless otherwise really necessary, if there's any reason not to, it's a good idea to give notice. 2 weeks notice is normal, y'all know. I learned in academics that actually about 4 to 6 weeks is pretty normal for them to be able to fit in any kind of professional job, really, to be able to fill a replacement, to fit your particular spot with someone who can do your job. Because if you quit in 2 weeks, think about the job that you have right now. If you're at an agency, if you're working a full-time job, if you're not self-employed, because filling the spot at a self-employed place, I mean, that's very hard to do. But if you're working for someone right now and you were to quit within 2 weeks, you give a 2 weeks notice, would they be able to fill your job with someone qualified enough to actually hold that position? If the answer to that is no, then consider giving a longer notice than that, because that will ensure a good working relationship in the future with those people who are really controlling your job right now and who kind of have an influence over future employers as well, because the last thing that you want is for somebody to say, yeah, they were fine until they found something else and then they just bailed and left us in a lurch, because nobody wants to be left in a lurch. So think about stuff like that. Talks about putting it in writing and never discussing negative reasons for living. Like, don't discuss negative reasons for living either, but don't discuss negative reasons for leaving. Your new place, don't tell them, just tell them that you were looking to advance yourself, that kind of thing. Don't go into too much information and details about it. Tell your coworkers, think about your best friend at work. What would happen if all of a sudden you just didn't show up one day? Think about what would happen if they didn't show up tomorrow. Like, sad. So don't do that. Like, this is just graceful. This is being a good human being to do all of this stuff. Wrapping up loose ends. All of that kind of stuff. Finishing up projects before leaving instead of starting a major project and then running away. That kind of stuff. Randy goes through all of this and goes into detail about each one. And it's something that all of us need to keep in mind. I mean, I don't think any of us, especially me, are planning on, just up and quitting our jobs. But I did to get this job, and there were things that I had to make sure were done. So this is something that we all need to pay attention to and just keep, in the back of our mind. It's something that you hopefully don't need on a daily basis. If you do, you probably need a career coach of some kind, but this is something that you should know. So I see that Judy on YouTube is like, she keeps trying to quit self-employment, but the boss won't accept your resignation. I understand completely. You're good to have, and apparently your boss is good people too. So it's that kind of stuff. Deb Jeet, maybe. Hopefully I didn't really butcher that too bad. You have to work more than usual on your notice period. That happens too. That's a very good point. Thank you for pointing that out. That sometimes the reason that people give a shorter notice, that rather than taking the 6-week notice for a professional position, that some jobs will make you do more work to guarantee a good reference, all of this, to be able to finish it out, that they will hold you to get that final salary, to get any kind of benefits or severance that you're owed, anything at all that you can get that they can withhold from you. They can make you do a lot more work for that. And just like Deb said, this is it's a mistake to do, in that there are ways that you don't have to work yourself to death like that. So consider that when you're doing this too. Thank you, Deb. That's a really good point. Because it's prepping to leave and it's prepping someone else, and it's not fair. And Uncle Social says American labor laws make me in the UK sad. Yeah, there are good ones. Don't let me say that there aren't, because there are good labor laws. My wife did a lot of research on them to write some bylaws for an organization she was a part of. And there are some that are really protective, and there are some that really favor the company and that can harm workers. It just depends on what particular issue they are. Excuse me. So there were a couple others in the tutorials. I've gone through a lot in the past. There were a few weeks ago, I talked about brand guidelines and branding yourself and creating a brand kit. And Flywheel touches on that with the article that's titled, Why Brand Guidelines Are Important and How to Create Them. So if you missed a few weeks ago, or this is just something that interests you like it interests me, check out the Flywheel layout article. Their magazine, their blog is called The Layout, where they talk about, we were talking a lot about stuff about staying on brand and color palettes and stuff like that. They talk about logo usage on do's and don'ts, having a verbal brand that we talked a little bit about, telling a story with your brand, a slogan, these kind of things, campaign elements, voice. They just go through stuff like this to make sure that you basically have a checklist of things that as you're making a brand, as you're figuring out your brand kit, as you're figuring out just all of this stuff, that you are consistent and that you have everything that you need. So that is really cool. I like it. Stuff like that's really, really fun for me to read about. I see Benjamin came in. Nice to see you, Benjamin. So under that, there just very quickly, I always want to touch on something Smashing Magazine does. This is one that I don't fully understand. I'm not deep enough into development to fully understand the importance of this one, of headless WordPress. I want to call it I want to say something about Ichabod Crane. I can't really come up with the pun that I want to make about like the Headless Horseman and WordPress, but just so you know, run with it, y'all. There's a pun in there somewhere. But I don't actually understand decoupled headless WordPress. I know that it is a way to use the REST API and use your WordPress database as as actually the back end for apps and servers, and being able to run different programs through WordPress and on top of it. That's just about all I know, but Smashing Magazine talks about it in depth and gives you some ideas on what to do, how to do it, and I'm just going to let you dig into that so that you can read it, because like I said, I understand enough to be dangerous with it, and if I tried to do anything with what I know about it, it would be dangerous. So y'all read that one. And then I didn't put the full article in that I'd read. I actually put the wrong links in some of these. The how to exclude WordPress content is really, really good, because sometimes you don't want pages or posts to show up in your on Google for you. Sometimes you write something, and if you don't know how to no index it, it'll show up anyway, and just it tells you how to do that, how to block search engines. It gives you the code that you need to do that, and you can do it using meta tags and other stuff too. You don't have to do it in with complicated PHP or anything. It's just stuff you can just type right in. It's good stuff. I see Uncle Social says, I need to find a brand style guide template to populate for my clients. I'm not a formally trained designer, but I do create branding and need a hand. Uncle Social, I know that the one that really gets me just a place to start as a template is using Canva. I really love Canva. Because it's for people like me who aren't designers, who need to put out templated, semi-professional looking stuff pretty quickly. And they actually have a brand area where you can keep fonts, different color palettes and stuff like that, where it's just all in one place so that you can see the stuff that you need. That's really where I start and then move out from there if I'm ever thinking about stuff. I actually go look at it in the Canva UI, the Canva dashboard. Colombian Hosting has a good point that Yoast has an option to not index a certain page in the settings of each individual pages. That's absolutely correct. I never click that button. That's one that, thank you for pointing that out, that I never click. I pass it, I see it, and I just kind of, it's one that just like right in front of my eyes, and I don't pay any attention to it. You know when you see something, but you don't actually see something? It's kind of the way that one is for me. Other stuff that I really loved was under tutorials here, the Torque Mag one on how to use an RSS feed in 5 different ways. RSS gets a bad rap these days. This is, it's old technology. It's not really good technology. I mean, it's simple and it works. I mean, it's really simple syndication is what it is. So, I mean, it does what it does, and it does it well. But outside of that, there are a lot of issues that can come up with RSS because you just can't control a lot of it. And there are things that they bring up in this one talking about use RSS feeds for social followers. They talk about once there you can they go into your settings and you can have social websites that you want to generate RSS feeds from. You can generate social media traffic by auto posting. You can display article only or article summaries in RSS feed if you need people to click through. A lot of the blogs that I read on a weekly basis are article summaries where I have to go to their page to read it as opposed to reading it in my reader. There are pros and cons of both. I like articles that I can read entirely in my reader, but I also understand the article summary and the need to get people to your page from RSS. But they talk about using it for email marketing. I use RSS for email marketing. Sorry, excuse me. My eye was itching. I do. I always use RSS for email marketing. Anytime that I have a new post put out, anything like that, I actually have just the RSS feed plugged into MailChimp to send out a formatted email with images, everything like that through it. You don't even have to publish it. You can have a separate RSS feed for it that if you just publish and like you just want to post and you don't want to go through your dashboard, you can have it wherever you want to post it, and as long as it applies to that RSS feed, it'll go through. There's a lot of things that you can do. It says, it applies to everybody who wants to stay up to date with the latest news, but you can have, check out offers, and you can do it with people who are already your customers. Like you can do a lot with RSS that way. You can add content before and after the feeds. This is something that a lot of SEO plugins do that I don't know if you've ever noticed at the bottom of some posts that you'll see online that's like, this post was originally published on BJ's awesome website. That is because it came from RSS that way. That's the way it was syndicated, so it automatically adds it through the plugin. That's a really good way to put extra content that you need. Yes, it will give you original links back so that if somebody scrapes your content, that's where it is. You may actually see stuff from the Elegant Themes blog elsewhere, and I believe that when I've actually come across it had originally published on elegantthemes.com/blog and stuff like that. Then it's talking about getting content from aggregator websites. That's something that if you need content for your blog, you can do that. You can actually pull in openly syndicated content to your blog, and the canonical URL will go back to the original. You have content for your readers, and it's a syndication service, like the AP and Reuters and things like that. It's the same idea. It's not the same thing, but it's the same idea behind it. I see Uncle Social says, find someone who loves you as much as BJ loves RSS. When I love something, y'all, this is something that I've been guilty of my entire life. When I love something and I care about it, I go all in. that I know that I think it was last week somebody mentioned that I should have a content marketing, a content creation YouTube channel because I just get excited talking about it. You can really tell when I get into something and what I love. Like, I have no poker face. Like, I really wish I did, but when it comes to things that I care about and I'm very passionate about, you can very much tell because I'll start talking about it and rambling about it, and no one cares about it as much as I do at that point. You should hear me when I get started talking about like digital security and encryption, and my wife just zones out because she doesn't care. She'll listen, but she just zones out, and I'm like, because I'm talking about encryption again, and she's like, mm-hmm. And I'm like, she's like, I'm just letting you talk, and I'm like, that's all I needed. That's kind of how I feel sometimes when I get excited about something on here. So the WPMU dev, the one under the RSS article, published an article called "Create a Custom Search with Toolset That Helps Customers Find Exactly What They Want." I'm going to put this out there, y'all. The WordPress search, the default WordPress search, sucks. It's not real good. It's not really good, y'all. It never comes up with what you want. When you're searching in WooCommerce, things like that, you're probably going to have something left out. And I know that a lot of you guys actually already use Toolset. And WPMU Dev has walked through the idea of using filters and how you're doing with what you can do with custom search to display results that your users actually want. I was looking, I'm working on an article right now about WooCommerce and the idea of, I can't remember the name of the company that runs it now. Starts with an A, but they run a neural search that neural search for WooCommerce. WooCommerce, that was a weird, that was a really strange inflection. But they do this so that you can get better search results with it gives anticipatory results. That's something that like Amazon does, and that's what you need for customers these days. I get really frustrated when I'm searching a site and it doesn't search for phrases, it searches for individual words. So any instance of those individual words in a site, it brings up articles that don't relate to what I'm actually searching for. And that's what this article is trying to prevent. That you can use Toolset to set up rules to have results that actually benefit your users. I know Mac uses Toolset, that he's had experience with it. I know a lot of you guys too do as well, because y'all have mentioned it in the past. And if you haven't ever heard of Toolset, it's a toolset actually called Toolset. It is WordPress development. It's I don't want to say it's a page builder because it's more than that. It lets you make stuff. Like, I don't honestly know how to describe it. It's a bunch of tools that let you do custom taxonomies. The way that they've got it on here is you can have building blocks for post relationships and taxonomies and fields, and it really lets you take your site and make it pretty much look exactly like you want, as well as function the way that you want. I know there are ways to get it to play with Divi. There's not like official support for it, but I know that there's some ways to do it, and I'm not familiar with those. I would Google it, but I know that there are ways to play with it, and so I liked that one because I know a lot of you guys like Toolset. And if you haven't looked at Toolset, just do it. You'll love it. So, the last bit of the show for people who have either just tuned in, aren't regulars, if this is your first time watching, welcome, thank you, hi everybody. I saw some people earlier, hi to India, and I saw some more folks from Venezuela. It's awesome. I'm glad to see everyone is here. And if you're, like I said, if you're new, we go through the three sections, and I usually get caught up on something else and never get to my resources. And I'm trying to make a concerted effort over the last few weeks to get into the resources. And the first one under resources is an elegant themes one that I saw today. The best free web fonts for 2018. These are good. These are really, really, really good, and they have some that I use. Like, I just wanted to bring this up that you'll get new combos ideas from reading this. And my two favorite new fonts that I found last year, I was actually near the end of last year, that I found are EXO and Josephine Sands. Those are my absolute favorite fonts right now. And they're free and stuff, and you can find them through there. But that one's on there. The one I wanted to point out specifically to you guys, though, is Randy Brown's 25 rad 80s fonts for totally righteous websites. They're awesome, you guys. They are totally rad. I wanted to bring this one up for a very specific reason. Well, two. A, they're awesome. Like, they really are. Like, you scroll through this, and just the pictures, the displays for these fonts are just fantastic. That they have put in so much love. The people who have designed these font designers, these are good people, because like there's one called DeLorean, and like they put in really, really good, like it's just pretty. Like, I love when marketing and graphic design come together to show something, to really give you a feel of what you can do with this font. And the other reason, besides it being full of 25 really awesome things that you can use, is I learned because Randy shared this on Facebook. And I saw it in my newsfeed. One of the few times I was actually scrolling through my newsfeed, and I saw that he had posted this and shared it. He's like, this is my newest article about totally rad 80s fonts. And Facebook, you guys, has it where if you use the word rad, R-A-D, it's one of their keywords that is clickable, so that it gives you an audio and visual effect when somebody clicks it in your post. And I don't know if it does it on every platform. I know it does it on the iPhone app, but that was one of my highlights for that day when I saw that Randy shared that and I clicked it. It played like a guitar riff and put some 80s thumbs ups on there, like it and animated across the screen. Like, I'm very easy to please, and that made me really happy. So I want you guys to all just go, next time you're on Facebook, say something is rad so that you can click that button, because it is so cool. And I learned that because of this article. So like I said, on top of being really cool, they also let me be able to have another word that plays sounds on other people's pages, which I love. I see. I thought Uncle Social said make sure you listen to Vaporwave on YouTube while looking at the 80s fonts. I wasn't thinking. I thought you were talking about vaporware, software that never comes out, and I was like, oh man, what are we talking about? I was like, I love stories about stuff like that. And hi to you too, Current World. Nice to see you. The next one was one that I put together, and this one is the best WordPress blogs to follow in 2018 that we published this week. I went through, and basically, you guys, a little bit behind the scenes, there are 23 entries on here, I think, if I remember right. 22 entries on here, and these are the ones that I kind of use these to find our articles here. These are a lot of the ones I have in my feed. Not all the ones in my feed, but these are some of the ones that I find all the cool stuff from here. So when I wrote it out, I was really, really excited because I just had my not this week in WordPress, the weekly roundup in one window, and then going to the other monitor and putting the URL, writing about it, getting screenshots, that kind of thing. And so if you want to see where I'm pulling a lot of this stuff from and just have it what you're doing there, it's that's the post that it is for the WordPress blogs. And then there are just some more on here. I want to just briefly, give you an idea of where they are. E-commerce marketing strategies, accounting software for small businesses. We've talked about that a few times on here for like invoicing software, like Wave, that I know a lot of people talk about, but this accounting software for small businesses, WP Beginner did this one, and always very simple, straightforward, and easy to understand. We all need good accounting software to save our tails. And Delicious Brains put out one of my favorite headlines that I've seen in a long time, called Advanced Custom Fields, the hero WordPress needs right now, but not the one it deserves. I just love that headline. And Advanced Custom Fields is now letting you use their custom fields and use custom fields to make Gutenberg blocks. So this one talks a lot about like that, because ACF Pro is actually the one that lets you do a lot of the conditionals. But it goes through the current state of Advanced Custom Fields, and you guys may already use it. Look at what it's doing now. If you haven't updated, if you haven't played around with it, this is a good article just to see what's going on with it. Aspen Grove Studios, some of the folks who do the Divi Chat podcast run Aspen Grove, and they have an article I ran across that they posted yesterday on how much does it cost to actually set up and run a WooCommerce store, which is, you might think it's really cheap, and sometimes it can be, but to have really good service, it might not be as cheap as you think it is, or it might be way cheaper than you expect, and you can do it anytime you want. So check that one out. It's good. They do good stuff. If you are a code junkie, you might want to check out one of the last two here. One of the last two of the last three. That's the words I'm looking for. Those are the words I'm looking for. There is a JavaScript console.log tip for faster developments, stuff that you can use for JavaScript debugging so that you can see what's going on faster. Honestly, because debugging JavaScript is a pain, and I wanted you to know about that. And then I love the Code Newbie podcast that I've mentioned in the past, and the newest episode is Haley Swimilar. I don't know how to pronounce her name yet, but it's going from a librarian to a developer. The idea of this podcast is when people go from one field that may be completely disparate to the development and web design fields, and they completely switch careers, or how people got their start in technology, that kind of stuff. And it's geared toward people who are really, it's code newbies. It's two new people who are coding and getting into this kind of field, but you don't have to. Like, it's always, these are a lot of really personal stories and experiences and anecdotes, and it's one of my favorite podcasts. I really like this one, and of course I'm going to be drawn to one that's talking about going from a librarian to a developer. A, because my wife's a librarian, and B, I went from an English teacher to developer, kind of poorly to developer, and moved into content creator and designer, that kind of stuff. So worked out well, but I was going into developer from English teacher. So these kind of separate fields moving into tech and so that was one of the that's what this week's podcast is about. And I'm figuring that there are some people like me out there. There's some people who are kind of polyglots and polymath, not polyglots. I'm not a polyglot. Polymath who really excel and are interested in fields that don't necessarily go together, and you're good in both, where it really will help out. And stuff like this can really give you a boost of confidence, I think. At least it does me, knowing that this podcast helped me move into it, move into the field, because it's like, I'm not the only one doing this. I'm not the only one who is in my early 30s, now my mid 30s, and looking to completely change careers and start at zero. That I was moving from teaching into freelancing and moving a hobby into a job. So the fact that they talk about stuff like this on that podcast on a weekly basis, I love. And so if you haven't listened to it, I think this is a good place to jump in. Some of my other favorite episodes have been, they've talked about designing the streaming interface for YouTube gaming, talking about user experience and UX in terms of YouTube gaming. That one was really great. There have been some about how to get started in open source, what it's like to actually work at Mozilla, doing like being paid to work on open source and contribute to the MDN, the Mozilla Developers Network, which is the best documentation on the web. That if you need to know something about the internet, it's probably on the MDN. Very technical, very dry, but it is as in-depth as you can possibly get on any subject, in my opinion. Like, it is great. And they have an article about the guy who really does a lot of that writing, and why he's writing tech articles that are dry and not really narrative driven like a lot of the articles that we think now. Like, I don't know how you think about the content that you create and that you write, but the difference in my mind of a tech article, like, even the stuff that we write and we publish at Elegant Themes, the how to install WordPress, that kind of thing. There is still a narrative being told from the beginning to the end of that there is a voice that you're taking, and you're talking to an audience and you're going through that. Technical documentation doesn't have that. It is a series of glossaries, glossary entries and references that don't necessarily have a flow, while instructional and educational informational content, it does. It kind of has that beginning, middle, and end, even if the beginning, middle, and end are introduce you to the problem, steps to solve the problem, and a wrap up of what you did to solve that problem, kind of rehash it. It still follows a narrative structure where you can move from beginning to end, but technical writing doesn't. So, like I said, when I get excited about something that I like y'all said last week, I like content creation, and so just the idea of storytelling and narrative versus technical writing is hopefully something that you guys can think about as you create your WordPress stuff this week. As you do whatever you're doing in WordPress and the content that you're creating, think about that. Think about it in terms of telling a story where you're beginning, middle, and end. That you're thanks. Siri found something on the web about a series of glossary entries at the same time. So thanks. But yeah, maybe that'll help your content creation this week a little bit, just by keeping that in mind and being able to move forward with it. Well, guys, I think that's about all the time that I've got. I hope that this roundup has been good for you like it has for me. This was fun. I apologize immediately for apologize again for the stream hiccup at the beginning where our server lost authentication, but we're back. We powered through and we got it. But I appreciate everybody who comes and watches this every week. I hope that you guys know that I love you and that you're fantastic human beings. And I am always here if you need anything. Feel free to email me at bj@elegantthemes.com. Remember to check out the blog at elegantthemes.com/blog. And we go live multiple times a week. So on Mondays and Tuesdays, we also do a couple of live streams. So at 6 a.m. on Mondays, Mac goes through his Divi feature update live stream at 6 a.m. Eastern. And then Donyetta and Jason do use case live streams at 3 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday afternoons. So you'll be able to watch those, and all of them are saved on Facebook and YouTube for you to watch at a later time. Also, remember that if you want to be notified when we come online, that whenever we go live, that you can either, as I learned last night, someone called it, you can either ring the notification bell on YouTube or tell Facebook that you want to receive notifications when this page goes live, or you can just subscribe, and that would be awesome too. I think if you're on YouTube, that maybe the bell's like right here. I'm going to have to stop saying that, but I think it's in this area-ish. But you guys do that. You'll know when I'm online. You'll know when Jason, Donyetta, and Mac are as well. And I hope that your weekend is fantastic. I see some comments before I go. Please ask the folks building Divi layouts to make for a small seacoast hotel and motel. Dave, I actually had mentioned to them about something like that before. It may have been a seaside Airbnb that I had mentioned, and stuff like that is on their radar at the very least. I know that they're working on different kinds of layouts all the time. I'll check that one in the spreadsheet again, spreadsheet is Trello, so it might as well be a spreadsheet. I'll check that one again just to make sure But I know that one has been at least a little bit on the radar because we've talked about a couple of things near that. Talk about smaller hotels specifically. I know being able to take that kind of thing as well. So I'll check that and make sure and see. Charles, the layouts are a huge time saver. They have saved me so much time as well, just on side gigs, side projects, that kind of thing. Just having the base for these templates, y'all, is fantastic. And don't forget to adapt to them, that even though you may not be running a soccer club, that you can absolutely use that kind of layout for a restaurant if you like it, and just swap things out, because the layouts work for so many different things. So like I said, again, thanks for watching, you guys. Remember to tune in at 6 a.m. Eastern time to watch Matt go through new Divi features and walkthroughs and tutorials, and ask him any kind of questions that you have. Thanks for being the absolutely best community in the world, and we will see you next Friday with another installment of the weekly WP Roundup, and see you Monday for Max. Bye, everybody.